Meeting called to order.
Mr. Albro, Ms. Calderon,
Here.
Mr. DeCosta,
Present.
Ms. Coffinger,
Here.
Mr. Lombardi,
Here.
Mr. Luna,
Here.
Ms. Ryan,
Here.
Vice President Dunn,
Here.
President Gomez.
Here.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the New Milford Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Borough Hall and the New Milford Public Library. Notices have been sent to the Record and the Twin Borough News. The board announces that under its long-standing policy, it will not discuss in public any comments made by members of the public concerning individual staff members. At this time, please be advised that all cell phones and electronic devices are to be turned off. Meetings of the board are open to the public, and all members of the community should feel free to participate. Before coming to the board, the chain of command should be followed. There are two portions of the meeting reserved for comments from the public. The first at the beginning of the meeting for agenda items only, and the second at the end of the meeting for other items. Issues raised by the public may or may not be responded to by the board, but all comments will be considered. The board requests that all members of the public be mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Due to confidentiality and legal rights afforded by the state of New Jersey, members of the public are asked not to speak negatively or in a derogatory manner about any employee of the board or any student. Okay, I seek a motion for the approval of minutes for April 19th work and April 25th regular. Andrew Lombardi, need a second. Nicole Dunn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Student Board Representative Report, Mackenzie.
Hello everyone. I hope everyone is having an amazing May so far. So today I have some updates on our Spring Olympics event. So on May 8th, the sign-ups closed for students to pick their events for the Spring Olympics. So from April 19th to May 8th, students were able to go to Mr. Devereux's room during lunchtime or find their grade level representative and pick which events they'd like to participate in. And there was a bunch of events for all interest areas like sports, arts, and academics. And students are still allowed to sign up now, but there's a late sign-up point deduction. So basically how it works is each class is competing to get points to win the Olympics. So if you signed up late, you lose some points on your team. And soon we're also planning our pre-events during May Fresh Start to start the Olympics fun and getting points early. Also, at the end of May, our grade level banners are due for judging. So these are really large banners that each grade level makes to represent their class. And they can be designed in creative, fun ways, and then they're judged to earn points as well. And pre-events and grade level banners give each class the opportunity to get points for their grade before the big day. And as the big day comes closer, each class is getting excited to try to win the 2023 Spring Olympics. So that is all the info I have on it today.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions or comments? Joe?
I have a question. Not on anything you said, but on something that you didn't say, which is conspicuous by its absence, and that is there any update on the casting for The Wizard of Oz?
There is.
Would you be willing to share that with us?
I'd like everybody to guess. I can take a guess.
Sure. So the classes came out, and I literally got cast as Dorothy. So thank you.
All the old
Any other questions or comments? Mackenzie, we know you're probably really busy. You don't have to stay for the meeting.
Thank you. I
Thank
think my
you.
prom shoes.
That's right, for junior prom. Tomorrow.
Good luck.
You know what else tomorrow is?
No.
It's the end code.
Superintendent of Schools report, Daniel Shanley.
Well, I shared, hello. Good evening is what I meant to say. Hello and good evening to everybody. I shared a very long and detailed report yesterday, so that counts for this month's report, and I don't have anything else to add.
Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Lauren Doxa.
I have no report this evening.
Oh, okay. Business Administrator report, Stephanie Kuchar.
I do not have a report this evening.
Okay. Any liaison board committee reports? Any additional correspondence?
No, this evening.
Okay. Open to the public for items on this agenda. As outlined in New Milford Board of Education Bylaw 0167, each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes. I need a motion. John DeCosta, seconded by Paige Ryan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Are there any questions? Please state your name and town.
Lynn LePage from Milford. I'm just wondering, BA 71, could you just tell us which actual positions are being abolished?
Read them? Well, yes. Oh, when we post to the public. I will read them when we post to the public.
Okay.
Are there any other questions on the agenda from the public? Please state your name and your town.
Amy Harper, New Milford. I also have a question about BA 71, and from the minutes from last regular meeting. I don't know if this is the time and place to speak about the fact that it's confusing to me as a layperson, how the budget worked out as far as why was this the resort that it came to. And as far as I understood it, the health benefits was a big part of that. The health benefits were presented at the open enrollment in October. And was there a certain point in time where, not anticipating how many employees were going to switch over, and therefore the cost being more put on the board itself, was there a cap? Was there a warning given to other employees like, hey, if we have any more employees switch over, this is going to affect our budget in the spring? And if so, was anything done about that?
We'll respond at the end. Any other comments or questions from regarding the agenda? Okay, I seek a motion to close to the public. Paige Ryan, seconded by Stephanie Coffinger. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Stephanie, this is the list I have. We talked about something today. Point 6, that's not this, right?
No, that list is correct.
This is correct. Okay, so in response to BA 2223.71, approval to abolish positions, I will share with you the positions listed on the resolution tonight. 1, non-public services math provider. 2, director of constructivist learning, which is an administrative position. 3, supervisor of special education, which is an administrative position. 4, social studies teacher at the high school. That was a resignation, and we are not going to refill that position. 5, mathematics teacher at the high school. Again, a resignation. We are not going to refill that position. English language arts middle school. That person will come up here. Mathematics teacher middle school. That person will come up here. Elementary nurse. We have 3 elementary nurses. We are cutting 1. Elementary library media specialist, which means that we will have a shared media specialist. Learning disabilities teacher consultant. That's a child study team member. Elementary physical education position. We currently have 3, so we're reducing that to 2. Basic skills teaching position, 1 in math, 1 in English language arts. Classroom teacher, 2 classroom teachers at the elementary, 1 at Berkeley, 1 at Gibbs. Those are reductions for class size. 5 instructional assistants. And then we have 5 positions that are being reduced. 1 full-time child study team secretary will be reduced to an 80% position. 1 full-time transition specialist will be reduced to a 60% position. 1 full-time dance teacher reduced to a 60% position. 1 full-time art teacher retiring will be replaced with a 60% position. And 1 library media specialist at the middle school, currently full-time, will be reduced to a 60% position. Those are all the positions. In response to the health benefits, Unfortunately, we cannot tell employees that they can't continue to sign up for something that is allowable by legislation. So we couldn't say, oh, a lot of people are doing this, this is going to be the result. That may be a problem for the district financially. We can't do that because by law they're allowed to make that change during open enrollment. But it's also the overall cost of health benefit increases in general for everyone that far exceed what we're allowed to increase our budget by. And a waiver that we're allowed to take advantage of regarding the tax levy, but that doesn't cover the complete cost. And that's really just only one piece of the entire budgetary concern regarding health benefits. Did you want to add something? Please, please do. For those of you who haven't been here before, this is Stephanie Kuchar, our business administrator.
Like Mrs. Chanley just said, the health benefit cost is just one factor that went into it, and it was almost less about the movement of employees and staff members and more about the 15.1% increase that we received as of January 1st. So our budget runs on a fiscal year, which means it starts July 1. For example, July 1, 2023, and it runs through June 30th, 2024, and health benefits runs on calendar year. So that starts on January 1st and ends on December 31st. So we know for next year, we can estimate what our cost is going to be from July through December, but it's very difficult to know what your cost is going to be for the January through June portion. And when you have an increase of 15% in the middle of a budget year, you're then scrambling trying to find the money to offset that. So it wasn't only the staff movement that happened, but it was also an increase in the benefit plan of over 15%.
Oh, and there were so many other expenses too, many of which were explained last night at the budget meeting, if you haven't had the opportunity to watch that budget meeting from April 28th. There's a long introduction and an explanation and slides and user-friendly budget, all of which are on our website. And we're also included in the email that I sent to families on May 2nd. There are links to all of that there. I encourage you to watch that where you can get a more thorough explanation than we can give you here right now.
Okay, moving on to board action. I seek a motion for BA 22-23.66, .67, .68, .69, .70, .71, and .72. I need a motion. Joe Lewin, seconded by Stephanie Coffinger. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Educational Programs and Curriculum Committee, Stephanie Coffinger.
I seek a motion to approve C 22-23.38. Any second?
Paige Ryan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Personnel recommendations. Having the recommendation of the superintendent, I seek a motion for P 22-23.48, .106, .123, .124, .125, .126, .127, .128, .129, .130, .131, .132, .133, .134, .135, .136, .137, .138, .139, .140, .141, .142, .143, and .144. Need a second? Or roll call? Roll call. Paige Ryan. All in favor?
Wait, I don't know.
Okay.
John second.
Second, John.
Mr. Albro?
Yes.
Ms. Calderon?
Yes.
Mr. DeCosta?
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mr. Luna?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Vice President Dunn?
Yes.
President Gomez?
Yes. Facilities, Finance and Facilities Committee, Paige Ryan.
I make a motion for approval of F 22-23.136, .198, .199, .200, .201, .202, .203, .204, .205, .206, .207, .208, and .209.
Seconded by Joe Luna. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any old business?
I just have a quick question. I asked this a month or so ago. Do we have any update on that historic cemetery burial ground? Okay.
That's still with the county.
Any new business? Okay. Open to the public. As outlined in New Milford Board of Education Bylaw 0167, each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes. I need a motion. Paige Ryan, seconded by Cheryl Calderon. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Does anyone in the public have any questions? Please state your name and town.
Lynn LePage, New Milford. The basic skills position that's being eliminated.
2. 1 ELA, 1 math, yep.
Right. Is that Title I?
It's not.
Okay, that was my question.
We can't, we're hoping maybe we'll receive enough Title I money to reinstate those positions. Those teachers have tenure, so their jobs have been preserved, but the position's being eliminated, which then, as you know, causes a domino effect.
Yes.
But we're hoping that if we receive enough funding, we might be able to reinstate those positions.
Because their salaries are partially paid through the Title I
Not currently.
funds.
They're not currently.
Okay. That's stuff. I thought that was always the way it worked.
Depends on which year. There are times when you need to, like now, and times when you don't need to. It's always better not to have it paid for by the grant because there are restrictions.
Okay, understood. And I have one other question and comment. I think I know the answer to this, but it was hard for me to wrap my head around it. The people that were affected, the 22 or however many people who were let go or were reduced and lost their health benefits, were they all told in person in a face-to-face conversation?
That's my understanding.
That's not mine. I just found it very disturbing.
Yeah, and we can't.
Okay, all right, so then my comment is that I think that that's really awful, because as difficult as this whole thing is for you all, and I can understand that, it's exponentially more difficult for the people that were receiving this news, and to not get it in person from an administrator, and even to have representation with them, although I know that representation can do nothing at that point from the association. It's just the idea of moral support, and it's just not right if that's not how it happened. That's it.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Please state your name and town, please.
Amy Harper, New Milford. Another question about the budget. I know that part of it probably also came from, actually I do know, came from a reduction in state aid. When was that information relayed to you, and was there an appeal process in order to get that overturned?
So normally we take all the questions and we answer them. I know we went off that, so anyone else in the public have any questions or comments? Please state your name and town.
Well, that's Stephanie Milford. I really just wanted some understanding as I had tried to get my son into Gibbs, and from my understanding with all the communication I had, they had said that it was going to be considered due to an evaluation that he was going to have. So I waited, I didn't even apply to anything else really. And then I got a letter last Friday that said nothing about the evaluation. It said that there was no space in regards to that. I just wanted to know, did you guys know about it on April 19th? Because you could have just said, there's no way that he's gonna be allowed in at this time, you know, and I wouldn't have wasted my time, to be honest with you. Or was it like a sprung of the moment thing? Because I'm stuck. I have nowhere to put my kid.
Can we just have your name again so we can get back to you?
Waleska? Waleska? W-A-L-E-S-K. I'm probably the only Waleska ever.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public? Please state your name and town.
Hi, Tootie Navarro, New Milford.
So I was here last night, and we went through the same exercise where we're given a certain amount of time to ask specific questions. And I just find it a little irresponsible that you pick and choose which questions you want to answer, and then the other ones just kind of stay in limbo or send an email. The reason we're here is because there's a genuine concern about the budget. And we're asking specific questions, but we're not getting specific answers. We're getting either general answers or no answers or email. So at what point can we actually have a meeting where there could be some dialogue, some education as to what's going on? Because if it wouldn't be a concern, none of us would be here today. Also, I didn't really leave yesterday with a positive mindset. I almost feel like we're not given a fair opportunity to ask specific questions. At what point, if that's even a possibility, do we get some clarity? Yesterday was referenced for me to look at some reports. I mean, for crying out loud, could you guys explain what's on those reports? Because there's a series of numbers and sections, and we need an auditor to go through that. So we just want things simplified and answers, direct answers, not general answers, not referring to a report, specific answers.
What's the question?
The question is that, when can we have a meeting that we can actually get answers? See, here we go again with the same thing, answer me a question, when I just, or was that not clear? I'm not.
So we had a meeting, a budget meeting. At that meeting, we did discuss probably the questions you have, and we can answer them. So you can either go back to the YouTube channel and look at the budget meeting.
No, but that's the thing, I'm not trying to go to YouTube, I'm asking specific questions here. I'm a resident of this town, not of YouTube.
Right.
Yeah, so, or do I have to set, because here's the thing, if I have questions and you answer my questions and my questions only separately, offline, only I know the answers. What about everybody else who's here that may have the same questions and looking for some answers and some clarity? So there should be some transparency, that's my point.
Okay.
It just seems like things are getting isolated and information is given to certain people, but not to the general public. So for residents of the town, I don't want to hear about going on YouTube and watching a video. That makes no sense. I want
Well,
direct
that's what our
answers.
meeting is. So our meeting is a public meeting, and
Okay.
it's not a question or answer. You're observing us conducting our business.
Okay.
And at the end, you can ask questions. So
Okay.
on April 28th, we had a meeting regarding the budget, and your questions might have been answered if you attended or if you watch it on YouTube. So I think you should watch it first and see what's said, because a lot of that would probably be answered. It was very clear. You don't have to look at you don't need an auditor. It was very clear, the graphs, and explained properly by two people here
Okay.
that can maybe answer your questions.
Okay, but when I make my tax payment, I'm not asking for, right, I just write my check, I send it in. So now I'm looking for specific answers. I don't want to go to a video. I want to speak to someone, and I want that information to be put out to everyone.
Right, okay, so at the moment, since this is not our budget meeting, we do not have that material. Like we said last night as well as today, if you have additional questions, you can email the superintendent and she can answer them.
Okay.
We also have a 3-minute limit to our questions. I don't know where we're at.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for your questions. We are gonna move on.
Okay, can I get the full contact? I don't want to look it up, I
Absolutely.
want to just get it from you. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions or comments? Okay. I seek a motion to close to the public. Stephanie Coffinger, seconded by Nicole Dunn. All in favor? Opposed? Okay.
So I can answer these
Yep.
things? Okay, so, there's a question about reduction in state aid. Stephanie, when was the state aid figure announced? And then how quickly from when it was announced did you have to submit a budget to the county? Preliminary budget to the county?
The governor gave the state address on February 28th. Our notification came on March 2nd, and the preliminary budget had to be submitted at the March work, which I have to get that date.
It was like the 15th. So, 2 weeks. So we received state aid numbers and have to turn around and produce a budget within less than 2 weeks. When it comes to appeal, we did reach out to the county, to the state, inquiring as to why they don't give you any information. It's just, these are your numbers and this is what it is. What happened, fortunately, at the state level was that on behalf of the legislators, on behalf of our governing bodies who represent us, like our professional organizations, Business Administrators Association, the Superintendents Association, New Jersey School Boards, all of whom lobby on our behalf, appealed to the legislators, and then they turned around and passed legislation that provided stabilization aid to districts. That stabilization aid was not allowed to be used in the actual budget. It's like, you'll get it later. Do your budget, you'll get it later. You don't know what it'll be yet. Then finally, when they told us what the stabilization aid would look like, I think it was like 60% of what we lost, and then it could not be used for salaries. So if you cut staff, or needed to cut faculty and staff within your budget, the stabilization aid would not allow you to replace any of those positions. Ms. Waleska, I did respond to you.
I just don't.
Yes, so your question is, did we know that there was no space? So I just need to give some context for other people who may not understand. You have a child who doesn't meet the enrollment age.
I'm 13.
Doesn't matter if it's one day. The date is arbitrary. If it's October 1st, November 1st, December 1st, there will always be a child somewhere who's just under or just over. And you are not alone, like I said to you. This happens probably with a dozen families. It's easy to say that some parents are not on top of their game and registering January 1 when they should for kindergarten. And those enrollments continue to come up until the first day of school, when they show up and go, here's my child, ready for kindergarten, and here's his lunch. That's how late those enrollments happen. So when you say, did you know on April 18th? I don't know what we knew on April 18th, because I don't know what the complete enrollment numbers were at that time. I'm sure nor did the person who was assessing your child. And the question is, why then, if we don't have space? And when I say we don't have space, we have 80 students registered for 4 kindergarten classes already who already meet the age cutoff. And because we are at that number of 20 students per class and are anticipating little friends still arriving as late as September, we do not have the space to add students who do not meet the age criteria, because the ones who do meet it can't be turned away, which is what I explained to you in the letter, and I'm very sorry.
I just feel like it was such a short period of time, like, somebody could have told me, because now there's like no program. Unless I have to pay, I'm a single mom, so unless I have to pay rent to put my child somewhere, that's the only reason that I was like, why wait so long if we've had this, not you.
Well, we generally don't assess students for early admission to kindergarten before the end of April or May, because we really wouldn't get a good assessment as to their level of readiness if we assess them, let's say, in January or February. Communications. Anybody who's looking for information on communications regarding specific budget questions can reach out to Dr. Kuchar. Her email is S for Stephanie, Kuchar, K-U-C-H-A-R. I'll say it again, S Kuchar, K-U-C-H-A-R, at NMPSD, like New Milford Public School District.org. My prefix is D. Shanley, D. Shanley, S-H-A-N-L-E-Y. So we're happy to field any specific questions you have, and we will get back to you. Oh, and your phone extension is 1121. And mine is 1125. Think about it, I don't call myself. 1125. That helps out.
You don't have any responses? Okay. Any board member requests for additional information? Cheryl Feldman?
One, I heard what I was gonna say. What? Yeah, I just became speechless.
Because you're on a
No, I gotta just, okay, one, yesterday you mentioned that you hadn't heard from anybody directly by, reaching out about the budget.
Yes.
Did you, can I presume that you've heard from people now?
I received 2 emails today,
Okay, so you received it.
and I responded to both.
Okay, that was my question. And then the second one is, and I think you all sat here with me long enough to know that I know it's beating a dead horse, and I know that I've done this when there's nobody in the room, and when there's, now there's more people in the room. I struggle with that part of my job, of this job, of like, how do we engage the community more, and understand that, our role is supportive of what the, you know what I mean? Like, we're not trying to run the districts, but it is something that I get it. Like, that's just something that I think we should revisit or talk about at some point, maybe in our retreat, of how we can, really, engage the community more in a way that, I'm not going to be able to do what everyone wants, but just in a way to kind of improve that communication. So.
I have once a month, I have a coffee with the superintendent, and the last slide is always, and Q&A, anything you have for me. So everybody's welcome to attend that, and I send out a blast via text message with a link to remind everybody. That's a perfect forum for people to ask a question about absolutely anything, unless it's like personal things, and then I say, can we talk about this offline? Talk about your kids and all these other people. I make myself available. I was recently actually invited to a PTO meeting. I was very happy to be invited to the PTO meeting. Unfortunately, I can't attend because we have a concert that night, but I'm happy if PTOs want to invite me or Lauren or Stephanie to come and attend and speak. Happy to do that. And whenever I'm at, events with families, I make my way around and shake hands and introduce myself to people so that they know that I'm approachable. My phone number, my email is all on the website. I think, what we've learned here from Matt Lee, our New Jersey School Board's rep, is that this is a meeting where the public gets to watch you do your business. It's not a town hall. If people want a town hall, the coffee with the superintendent is the town hall.
This is where we always have our philosophical discussion, because we have had this with Matt Lee, and I think, I agree, like, you do a lot to engage the community, but I think I was talking more so on, like, how do we, fulfill that part of our, kind of, mission, right, of being the conduit from the community's concerns to the administration, not necessarily just being one with the administration. That part that we had a discussion with Matt Lee when he was here, and we continue to kind of have this back and forth. That's really what more I was referring to. Like, I totally understand everybody can bring their concerns to you, but just in a way, like, and not having to necessarily communicate with everybody directly, but in a way that we can do more of a conduit of those community concerns, and be able to address them that way. Again, that's just something that I think that I'm hoping that we could discuss.
Okay.
Here's your
Kate?
Joe did.
Oh,
Oh, you?
I didn't see Joe, I'm sorry. You can
No,
go
I
first.
didn't until that second. I literally.
Okay, someone go.
I wonder if, just kind of for the public and for the record, if you could break something down a little further. I know that you read the positions out loud. You mentioned that some of them are supervisory positions and some of them were teachers who retired. Could you give a number for the net amount of teachers who, full-time teachers who are not coming back? Because we keep hearing this number 22, and I'd just like to just drill down a little bit to clarify the number of full-time, currently employed teachers, not administrators, not assistants, not secretaries, but full-time teachers that are quote-unquote out of a job.
I don't want to minimize
I don't want to minimize it either.
the other positions. I mean, a district is it's an ecosystem.
Agreed.
And each of these positions impacts a person, regardless of that person's role. So, and in some of these cases, so like the non-public services educator, that's a person. And in some of these cases, there are trickle-down situations where a position is eliminated, which results in not the elimination of that person, but in the elimination of another person who doesn't have tenure or seniority. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You want to know how many people don't have work?
So the perception is there's 22 teachers that are let go, and that's, and I'd like to just clarify.
This results in a person, this results in a person.
Well, the first one was not educating New Milford.
Wasn't educating New Milford students, was educating non-public students.
That's what the percentage is.
Okay, so number 1, non-public services was not educating New Milford students, it was educating non-public students in the town of New Milford. Services we must provide, but we could provide through a county service, so that's what we're going to do. So that person was employed by us though, but they were providing services outside of the district, so that's one person. Director of Constructivist Learning, there's movement, so that results in a person.
The public perception is you took 22 teachers out of classrooms. That's what he's saying.
No, this is not a teacher out of a classroom. This is not a teacher out of a classroom. This is not a teacher out of a classroom. This is not a teacher out of a classroom because this person's not here. So if somebody left and we're not refilling that spot, do you want me to count that?
No.
Good. Then that's a no. This person, not here. This one, no. So this is a 1. And you just want a teacher. Just a teacher. Okay, wait.
In the
Just
simplest of
teachers.
terms, how many
4.
teachers that we employ
Not
teaching
nurses,
their
not
children-
secretaries, not.
that are teaching their children, the public children, how many are not going to be with us in September?
Five.
Thank you.
Paige?
Thank you.
5.
So I just want to go back on that part that the exchange that you just had, because again, a little bit of the meeting and everything else, because this is the meeting that we hold to do business, and the public is invited to observe that meeting, but at certain points, we'll open the window and say, hey, since you've been watching us, do you have any questions about what we're going to talk about? Do you have any questions about things that we're not, or any statements you'd like to make? But it really isn't about that back and forth, because at the point that someone is here at a board meeting, and I'm not talking about what Charlotte was talking about, I'm saying a board meeting, is to let the board know something that the teacher, administrator in the building, the superintendent, the business administrator already know about, and we were not informed yet. That's how it should go. That's what the statement is that Heather makes at the beginning about the chain of command. Not because we don't want to hear it, but because if I'm John's boss and somebody doesn't go to John and give him an opportunity to answer the question and come straight to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. My husband used an analogy: if you bought a bottle of wine at Bottle King and you wanted to return it, you would go to the front, to the register to return it. If they didn't help you, then you'd go to the manager and so on. If you wanted to return it and you didn't like the wine, you wouldn't call the CEO. But I'm saying you wouldn't go right to the CEO. And I'm not saying that no one should come here. What I'm saying is the point of saying, make your statement, ask your questions that may not be answered, is because that's not the business that's happening here. So there may not be an answer, or the person that you asked the question of may not be prepared to answer it because it wasn't part of the business we were doing. Not because people don't want to be open, that people don't want to be transparent. So I just kind of wanted to overall make a statement for myself with all of you, is that that's one thing. The budget meeting itself, which is published and and announce is an absolute opportunity to come and speak, and we definitely, I know, notify people of that. We definitely say, this is when the budget meeting is. It's posted on the site, the actual budget itself, or the presentation, or the whatever was happening there, that's it as well. That's been that way for many years, as long as it can be available. So again, there's all kinds of information available at that time, because that's the point of that meeting. And if a question is asked about especially this much change, I wouldn't expect, I would hope that we wouldn't make erroneous comments in response to questions, because you don't have the information there. Okay. So anyway, basically, I'm a little distracted.
I know, there's a lot going on.
And that's kind of the point of it too, is that this is the meeting where we're kind of doing our business. So for me, as a board member, I just want to comment and say that this particular budget for this board, there have been multiple discussions, and yes, some of them have been in closed session because it related to personnel and changes that were possibly occurring. And yes, as a board, we are not discussing those until the budget is passed and out there to the public. That's how it should be. We should not be discussing those things in public. However, the impacts to the budget, we made sure of always asking those questions and asking that at every meeting. So we've really been discussing the impact of this budget since February, in almost every meeting at some point. So again, we stream the meetings because it definitely, after COVID and everything else, it's what the public definitely wanted, and it was eventually, that's what happened, and it's there, and I think it's great. And Dan usually tells us how many people have viewed it, and then I'll look, during the week, kind of see how many people have viewed it. So I think that's helpful too. And then the thing that Joe was saying about the numbers, I know that it's not about us reducing it down to teachers. But we also know, similar to what Charlotte said before, that as a conduit from the public, we hear things, and we want here to be able to say, we know the answer to this here. We can't go on Facebook and give all our answers. We can't go on other social media sites or emails to our friends or have a meeting and explain everything. This is where we do it. That's why it's spoken about here. But I have seen it multiple times where it said 22 teachers, 22 teachers, 22 teachers. There are 22 staff members who have contributed and done amazing things within this district because they were here for a reason. And so the fact that they are being cut or reduced is painful, and it should be respected. But it's to understand that it's not 22 in there, it should hopefully for the public understand even more how painful this has been, to keep going to the foundation of what helps everything run so that everyone can do their jobs. The teachers will have less support. The administrators, everyone, you will have less support because a lot of these positions aren't there. The students should have their teachers and who they needed, but we are getting very close to affecting the students more and more every time a vendor raises something over 2%, which they will. Inflation goes up. Benefits go up 15%, 10%, 12%, and we're taking on that cost. Every time heat goes up, every time gas goes up, every time the bus everything, we are getting closer and closer to impacting our children. And I would like, I'll say it again that I said last time, and I know I've been speaking for a while, so I'll finish here. The public comes here. I would love, because I spoke to Stephanie about this, we will put a resolution out. I am proposing that as a board we discuss having a resolution that goes to the state, that goes through there, that says, this is what we need. We cannot support this any longer. We need you to get involved in what those rising costs of the benefits are. Your state health benefit plan, that the public sector does not always feel the pinch that we are feeling. So we need that. And we need what Mrs. Shanley said, which is for them to help us with our vendors and everyone that deals with a school district that is at a 2% cap to say, you cannot raise your cost because they can't pay it, Because every time you raise your cost 10%, that 8% has to come from somewhere. Because we certainly won't put it up to the taxpayer. So we need that kind of support, and we need that support from the public. Because that is where if you go to the doctor and the doctor gives you aspirin, it's not an antibiotic, it's not going to cure the infection. It'll make you feel better today, but it's not going to get rid of it. And that is the only way to get rid of it, is to get to the root of it. Why did we get our state aid cut? Because there's a formula down in Trenton that nobody really fully understands. That you have to go to them and say, okay, if it's A plus B equals C, well, sometimes, but then it's A plus Z, and then Z has to equal this, and if it's a quarter of that, and it's crazy. But somehow we fell victim to it. So no, we don't really fully understand it either, and Trenton can't really explain it. So again, go to the legislators, go up there, help us get to the root of it. Because if we just keep beating down the decision that everyone has had to make to cut into what we do every day, we're just going to keep beating up the people that are just we're trying to do the best that we can. So that part. I do agree with Cheryl in being able to have an open forum, and I know that Cheryl has heard that, and she does it with the coffee with the superintendent, and we do it with the budget. So maybe there is, another meet the board meeting where we do something like that, where we have a board meeting where it's only about open questions and they can submit their questions ahead of time, so maybe we can be a little prepared for the questions they're going to answer. But other than that, this is our meeting to do our business. And that's it.
John's first.
Yeah, I think another, just a fundamental piece maybe for folks that don't understand it, and even us involved in the board, I'm a new board member, into my second year, understanding the procedure. This board is made up of 9 members of the public, right? 9 members of the public that have had children that are either in the system or have gone through the system, right? So we're sort of we're elected, you've all put us here, or if you vote, you put us here, right? And that's part of the check and balance of the of the board, right? And that's part of the procedure. So I just wanted to say that I know sometimes it's not well understood. I think it's an important point to make. So any of the changes and impacts that happen, it's not just to the public. We're members of the public. We see and we hear. So it's done in the best interest of what we're able to work with.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Everybody here knew that I wasn't going to not say the last thing, right? The page is getting ready. They saw me writing and they were like, oh, here we go. Okay, so what I wanted to say is I wanted to just repeat that Paige said she agreed with me. So that's out on the record.
It's on the record.
That's agreed with Joe and and then me the next night.
It's bigger than the building.
So I think that's what I think I want to just say is that there's a balance in what we do, right? There's a balance in that we want to serve the public, we want to serve the children, and honestly, I love having all these people here because if you're not fighting for your kid, you're doing it wrong, right? Like that's the truth. If you're not sitting here and you're not fighting for your kid, and you're not telling me I'm wrong or Miss Shanley's wrong or Andrew's wrong, which he is often, you're not doing the right thing. And so I'm sympathetic to all the concerns. I think we're all sympathetic, right? Everybody had to make hard decisions. Everybody's unhappy, whether it's a teacher or a secretary or an administrative staff that's been let go. That impacts the district. I know it was agonizing for the administration to do that, and I can tell you it is terrifying as a parent to know, as much as you do feel sorry for, what the changes are. It's terrifying for a parent. You want to know. I used to agonize about whether I was giving my kid the right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm right there. But what I'm saying is, it's agonizing, and I get it, and that is why I want to. Although I just want to point out that John did turn. And I know he did. But I just want to say that it's a balance that we're trying to run here of being responsible, tax-paying people, and so I'm not trying to say that I want to run anything or we want to run anything. It's just what Paige was saying, that this format, what we do here at the meetings, is not necessarily the ideal format for a discussion or for that communication to occur. So that's all I'm trying to say. And as far as resolution, I think it ties into that, right? It ties into us knowing what the public wants. I'm not going to look at them. Knowing what the public wants to say, and wants us to put in a resolution, and then us bringing it to a greater body to discuss. So we'll look at it.
Tony?
As a superintendent of another district that was fortunate enough to receive a little bit more state aid in the past, I still wound up making cuts with my staff. And that's a part and parcel of what everybody has said ad nauseum, the cost of benefits, the cost of gas, the cost of a book, the cost of a computer. And right now, and I'm speaking to the board, and we probably know it already, this is a trend, unfortunately, that's going to continue. We're going to be here next year doing probably the same exact thing, unless something changes outside of this room, as Mrs. Ryan said, from a governmental perspective. If that doesn't change, I got more money, and I cut people. The amount of money that we did not get resulted in the amount of cuts that we had to make. If the system doesn't change, we're going to be here again. And I know as a board, as an administration, it's like lesson learned. You're going to be ready for it then. In preparing a budget, you never count on getting all the state aid you got last year. You predict 80%, 70%. No one could have predicted not receiving the amount of money that we didn't receive. And then the state politically, they caved in, okay, here's some money back, but here's what you can't do. It was not a full restoration of money or funding that could have saved these jobs. So I feel for the public as a parent, I feel as a school administrator, I feel as a board member. I just want everyone to know this is the first time this has happened, probably in about 10 to 12 years when Governor Christie first took office. We had a similar type of circumstance. Unfortunately, we're going to be here next year unless something changes. Thank you.
Anyone else from the board have anything else to say? Of course.
On a happier note, I just want to thank the board for your support in all of this. I know that you know it was not easy, but I'd also like to thank you for supporting the change to the school calendar for next year. I know that we have some families who came here just for that, and that beginning the 23-24 school year, New Milford Public Schools will be closing for Eid, which is the culmination of the holy month of Ramadan, and showing our support, respect, and care for our families who celebrate. So, thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing else, we're going to adjourn the meeting. I seek a motion to adjourn. Stephanie Coffinger, second by John DeCosta. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next meeting is June 13th.
Are you accepting or anybody? I haven't seen you so long. How are you? I saw your Yes, and I saw you guys on Easter Sunday. You were at Newbridge Farm. Can I get your number? I was walking the dog. I'm like, yeah, I was walking the dog and I video and then I saw you.